Good morning, children. Today, let's continue chapter 12. Peter meets Wendy of our English literature. Children, we have already started this chapter and we have read many pages of this chapter also. And we have known about this chapter that there were three children, and Peter comes into their room and they were sleeping, and Peter talks to Wendy. While talking, Peter says to Wendy that something there is uh, fairy in your room. He tells that there is a fairy in your room. Now let's start from here. Page number 114 of your book. Children, then Wendy says, "Oh Peter, you don't mean there is a fairy in this room?" Then Peter says, "Yes, I can hear her." Means he says that yes, there is a fairy in your room. I can hear her. Then Wendy says, "The only sound I hear is a. It sounds like bells tinkling." Then Peter says that that's fairy language. A, I see she is in there. He points at the chest of drawers, laughing merrily. "Oh, Wendy, I believe I shut the drawer on her." Then he pulls open the top drawer and Tinker Bells flies out, bobbing about furiously. The sound of bells fills the air. Then Peter says, "You shouldn't say such things." Tink, "Of course, I'm very sorry, but how could I have known you were in the drawer?" Then Wendy says, "Oh, Peter, if only she would stand still a moment so I could see her." Then says to, Wendy says to Peter that, "Peter, you asked to fairy that she stand still for a moment so that I can see her." Then Peter says, "Oh, they hardly ever do that." Means Peter says that no, fairy cannot stand still in the same place for a while, so you cannot see that. Then Tinkerbell, as if so contracted him, stands still for a moment between the two ticks of a clock. Then Wendy says, "She is beautiful. Where is she now?" Then Wendy says that, "Yeah, no problem. I can see that. I can say that she is beautiful. What? Let me know, where is she?" Then Peter says, "She is behind the clock." Then Wendy says, "What's her name?" She asks her name. Peter says, "She is called Tinkerbell because she mends the fairy pots and kettles." Then Wendy says, "Where do you and she live?" Peter replies that, "With the lost boys." We means Peter and the fairy live with the lost boys. The lost boys are children who fall out of their prams. When the nurse is looking the other way, if they are not claimed in 7 days, they are sent for away to Neverland. I am their captain. Then Peter says that I am the captain of the children. I am the captain of the boys who are left and they don't have prams. Then Wendy says, "What fun the must be." Then Peter replies thoughtfully, "It is, but it can be lonely too. Because you see, Wendy, we have no girls in our company." Then Wendy replies, "Why not? Are none of the children who fall out of prams girls?" Then says, "No, oh no, girls are much too clever to do that." Then Bandy says, "You do talk about, please you to talk about girls in a lovely way." Then Peter says, "To find my shadow, of course, it slipped in when I was outside, listening to your mother tell stories. And I love stories, but I didn't hear the end of the story that your mother was telling to you." Then Wendy replies, which story you was listening?" Peter says, "About the prince who couldn't find the lady who wore the glass slipper." I think the story was about a lady who wore the glass slipper. Then Wendy says, oh, that's a story about Cinderella. Means the story was about Cinderella. He found her and they lived happily ever after. Where are you going? Then Peter says, stepping towards the window, says, I'm going to tell the other boys. Wendy says, don't go. Peter, you know lots of stories. I could tell stories too. Peter, please don't go. I know lots of stories and I can tell you. Peter says, looking pleased, come with them. I will teach you to fly. Then Peter says, okay, very good, it's very good. If you tell me stories because I like stories, then I will teach you to fly. Wendy looking both pleased and alarmed. Fly? Oh no, I mustn't think of poor mother. Then Peter says, I will teach you how to jump on the wind's back. And then away we go. Wendy, just think, instead of being here in your silly bed, you could be flying about with me saying funny things to the stars. There are mermaids, Wendy, with long tails. And oh Wendy, how we should all respect you. Means Peter says that don't worry, I will teach you to fly and don't lie in the bed. Better is that you will fly with me. Then Wendy says, looking excited, oh, how fascinating it would be. What she looks over at her sleeping brothers. Would you teach John and Michael too? Then Wendy asks to Peter to teach her brothers. That is, they are John and Michael. She asked, can you please teach about flying to John and Michael also? Then Peter indifferently says, okay, if you like, then I will teach both of them also. Then Wendy says, John, Michael, wake up. She calls her brothers. Then John says, what really? Michael, I am up. Then John says, how do you do it? Peter replies, flies off into the air. You just think lovely thoughts and let them lift you up. John and Michael both try it, but both flop back into their beds. Peter, wait, I must blow fairy dust on you first. First of all, I will throw the fairy dust, then you will be able to fly. And Michael says, Peter, I fly. Jumps up in the air and flies across the room. Then Michael says, Peter, yeah, I can fly now. All three children look at me. Means all the three children were flying in the room. Then Peter, you can see here, all the three children were flying in the room. Then Peter says, jolly good, come on, then let's go. Then now come away to the Neverland we go. Then Peter take them to the Neverland.